Good morning, everybody. There's a large group coming in this morning. We would like to welcome all of you to this synchronous session with Paul Teske. So welcome. If everybody will go ahead and mute your microphone, and I will invite you if you want to have your video on, we would love to see your face. If you would rather just let us hear you, that is fine as well. So it's completely up to you, safe space, whatever you want to do this morning. We are here to help. Dakota Punzel, you will see him on the screen. Dakota is kind of helping us coordinate everything and running everything. He is our program coordinator for the Alabama Best Practices Center. You'll see Kathy Gassenheimer on the screen as well. Kathy is there. Kathy has been with the Alabama Best Practices Center since the beginning, and we are all learning to work in new ways as we move forward. So Kathy's there as well. If you need anything, we'll be here to support you. I am Stoney Beavers, the Assistant Director for Alabama Best Practices Center. And again, just want to welcome everyone. And I'm going to go ahead and do Paul's introduction, tell you a little bit about him, and then I will turn it over to him. So Paul has become a good friend. We've been working together. Kathy contracted with him back in the fall, it's just funny how things have kind of worked out because he was helping us look at some previous content and figure out how we could move some of that online. And then just so happened that we had developed a really good relationship as everything happened in March and we kind of moved to a different purpose. And as teachers and educators said, we need more training on moving things online. Paul was there to help us. And we're very excited about the course that he's been working with us on and several projects. Paul has worked in education for over 25 years as a teacher and with education technology companies. He is the founder of Education Impact Exchange, a consortium of teachers and researchers committed to equity and the sharing of knowledge through blended learning formats. He originally taught English language arts and ran after-school technology programs for K-8 students. He taught technology and teacher education programs at the University of Washington. And he was on the founding team for EduCurious, a nonprofit specializing in project-based learning. And he was the vice president of engagement for the Teaching Channel. Paul holds a PhD in education from the University of Washington. And we are so excited to have him with us in the Alabama Best Practices Center work. And he truly has become a friend. Paul's working out of Seattle, and so it's early there this morning, but I know those of you that have seen his videos, have been in the course with him, you know what a great asset he is to us. So Paul, welcome. Thank you for being with our educators this morning, and we're excited to learn from you. So I turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. And I'm glad you mentioned that I'm in Seattle because if I start stumbling, I'm just going to blame it on the early morning yet. It's nice to meet you all. I'm just going to call up my presentation on the side here. So let's get going with the day. Let's go over the agenda and see what it looks like. But before we do, let's just do a quick check-in. So you'll see two circles. One is a horse with very stubby legs, which probably means that he doesn't run very fast. And then we also have a sports car. And of course, if it's running and functioning, it's going very fast. So with your knowledge and what you've been doing so far in the flip space and learning about flip learning, are you more of a stubby-legged horse right now, or are you a sports car driver? If you're a stubby-legged horse, go like this. If you're a sports car driver, go like this. Let me see. This is my formative assessment. Turn on your cameras and let me see. Yep, we see a stubby-legged horse driving, a couple of those. It's very good. All right, thanks so much. All right, now that we've gotten that out of the way, see where we are, let's go on to the agenda. So I'll start off with the foundations of some of the work. Now you've gotten a good exposure to it already through the videos and the playlist that I've provided you with. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper on some of this for the foundation work that you'll be doing with students when it comes to flipped learning and blended learning. And then we'll do a quick wake up around a little activity you might do with students that could be used as a primer or some sort of assessment with them too. And then we'll get into our groups and I'll explain the different formats for the groups that we have choices of. Most people will go into the hot seat, I'm thinking. And then we'll regroup at the end and share out what we've learned. All right, sound good? So let's go forward. So in the chat though, I'd like you to put some of these things in here. So I have 2 questions for you. How far did you get? So some of you have completed A, B, or C. Those challenges that I put in there, or those choices, just put that in there if you have. Maybe you've thought about A, B, and C, but haven't yet completed them. You could put that in there. Another would be like, oh, this is my first day. I didn't realize I was supposed to do any work at all. I got kind of caught off guard, which is totally fine. And then also you simply ran out of time to do things, or your mind is like in amygdala hijack mode. That's when your internal brain, all those things that trigger responses like flight, freeze, or what was that, fight, are triggered in your head and you can't move. You're like paralyzed because of all that's going on. Put it in the chat. Where are you? Nice. Good. Nice to see completions. Good. Okay. The other thing that I'm sensing too from folks after reading some of your materials is that you're about to reopen, and I'm not sure how the folks in Alabama are opening. Here in Washington, most are going fully online to start, but I'm curious about what's going on in Alabama in your particular case. Are you fully online? Are you a blended sort of hybrid model, or are you all in school? If you could put that in the chat too, because that will help with the conversation. Don't worry about correct, Kyle. Totally remote for first 9 weeks. Okay. Mix. All of the above. Okay, that's great. Thanks for answering. Okie doke. Nice. I'm in the State Department. We have districts doing all sorts of things. Yep, good deal. Completed A, first month virtual. And then I'm sure you'll play it by ear. Okay, let's go on. So you may have run into this in your days in education. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it is related to the work that you'll be doing. It always is. But let's take a look as to, when we're thinking about launching the year, what that actually looks like. So let's do something first here. Hold on 1 second, folks. Checking on something. Oh, hold on, sorry. I have to get something. Somebody left me a box. It says, it's backwards for you, but it says be aware. They ran away. Let me take a look here. Oh, I wonder what the theme of this box is. I have an ab roller. Somebody must have noticed I put on COVID-19. Oh, they also gave me a book to read. I haven't read a novel in a long time. That must be a good one. They gave me tea, Get Clean. It must be some sort of detox tea. They know me too well. Let's see here. I also have, oh yeah, essential oils, bergamot. I love that smell. Ooh, now this is in direct contradiction to the tea. Somebody left a cocktail shaker. They know me too well. And then also, oh, they also know me very well. A high blood pressure measure thing that you put on your arm. I wonder what that could be about. What do you think is the theme here with this? If you could write that in the chat, what's going on? Why do I have a be aware box? What are they trying to tell me? Answer in the chat if you think you might know. Health and wellness, yes. Meeting your physical needs, being aware of self-care, yes. And this is absolutely related to the Maslow stuff that we're talking to. And we teachers don't treat ourselves well enough on a regular basis, especially during high stress times, moments of change and sort of chaos. We have to remember to take care of ourselves. And we also have to remember to take care of our students. And that's by bringing your best self forward for your students, right? So it's connected to Maslow's law in a lot of ways. You have to take care of those basic needs like exercise and food for yourself. You have to know that for your students as well and where they're located on this. So thinking about yourself in relation to your students. So with that, let's take a closer look at Maslow with all this. And I've offered here a couple of steps or a couple of things to think about in relation to Maslow's law of starting the new year with your students, okay? So first is to assess. You have to figure out where your students are. So to do that, you design an inventory for students that's related to the blended learning that they're about to do. So you know where they're at and what they're capable of doing in their homes. So gather information based on that inventory and draw some conclusions about it. So this can be super helpful for you to do. Next, build those individual relationships with your students, not just as a group of students. And I know this can be difficult for high school teachers, in particular when you have like 150 students that you're seeing. But it's super important to do this because then you know where they're at and you're better able to adjust your instruction. So develop those communications with them and with parents at the younger grade. So you also know what is going on at home a little bit so you can again adjust your instruction because your students aren't with you if you're doing the remote learning, right? And you're building those relationships. This is how you do it. Okay. Design the weekly arc. And I'll be getting into the arc a little bit more deeply next time in the second session. But basically, there's an arc to your instruction. And I've noticed this in some of your work already. Someone this morning handed in a piece where the arc was on a daily basis, meaning there was a launch, then there was something for the students to do, and then it capped. And that arc can be daily, it could be weekly, it could be a couple weeks, but you have to think about how you're going to design that arc and what you're going to do with the content that you have and how the students are going to be treating it. So think about the arc too. Next, develop the norms, right? And there's Norm up there with his beer. This is prioritizing the community and the positive collaboration that you're about to go into with your students and with your teachers, fellow teachers, as well as the parents. So developing those norms is really important as well. And we know that this is foundational, right? And then I would suggest also, it's so easy for us just to develop those norms, but it's another thing to have the students give their input on the norms and help develop those together. They gain more ownership of that. You can revisit those norms, and then it gives you anchors for the behaviors that they're going to be having during the year. Again, we know a lot of this stuff, but it's good to reiterate it, especially when you're thinking about starting in an online space. That's different from traditional schooling because the norms that they had before might be a little different now. Okay. So engaging parents for support. Totally believe in this, and I think it's important to do, especially at the elementary levels, because it is a different type of learning and the types of things and expectations they may have for you might be different than what's going on in your head. And as long as you're on the same page with that, it can really push you forward a lot more quickly with your students with a lot less frustration, and everyone just gets on the same page. The parents also then have further buy-in for what their role is in this education space. So if you think about the K2 students that may have to start remotely, they're just getting enculturated into what the schooling is, right? So having some sort of expectations around that with this online type of school is slightly different. So bringing in the parents to support you in that role and what they can do so they don't get frustrated and actually complain or get frustrated with you or their kid. You really need to sort of put them at ease by having that engagement with them. So when you think about that in relation to Maslow, you're addressing those needs, you're understanding where they're at, so you're able to better respond to what they have to do. And you're better able then to decide, well, what is the stuff I can control and what is the stuff that the district or the leaders of my school have control over? That could be things like school lunches, if the kid is starving or something like that. That is the base need. But when you're talking about developing arcs and that sort of thing, those are a little bit higher up on the scale. So thinking about that in relation to the work that you're doing in that foundational work with your students to make sure you know them, to make sure that they're safe, that they have the things that they need is important at this early stage. And especially when it comes to online materials that you're providing them in this new space. Okay, any questions about any of that? I had the onboarding slide too. Yes, this all has to deal with that too. Getting the kids enculturated into this new type of learning, being patient with them, scaffolding what they need to be doing at what times. That's what I mean by the onboarding of students. Any questions or any thoughts about that? No? Okay. Put them in the slide deck too. All right, so with that, we're gonna move now into an online space and we're gonna practice getting into groups. So I'm gonna put up a link in the chat, but before I press send to everyone, Control C, hold on. I'm gonna give you some ground rules here. Oops, hold on. I don't know why it's not copying over. 1 second, please. So strange. Dakota or Stony, if you're in the agenda document, there's the first link. I'm wondering if you can do it, because they're going to need this for the activity. Do you see it, Stony? The agenda or Dakota?
I am looking for it in the Google Classroom, Paul.
No, it's just an independent Google Doc. Yeah, it's refusing to copy over for me. I don't know why. It's titled Agenda for Synchronous Session 1. So what we'll be doing while you're looking for that, Stony, I'll just walk them through this. You'll be divided into groups. Dakota will randomly assign you. And then once you're in your group, you're gonna look for your group number. And it will say like group A, group 1, 2, 3, and so forth. Then you'll go into the link and you'll see a document that looks like this. And so you'll find group 1. You're all in the same slide deck. So find your slide that says your group number. You'll all be working. You'll get like 3 minutes to do match the letter to a word that we've been using in the curriculum or something that you're feeling during this time. So if I put the letter F in there, what would be a word that was associated with the letter F that starts with F? You can unmute or put it in the chat.
Flipped.
Right, so already you have 1. You got a nice head start there. So when you go into that, again, find your group, find your, on the slide deck. Did you find it? Oh, Dakota, you have it there?
I do, I put it in the chat.
Good, I could not open it either, Paul.
Okay. Well, anyway, you shouldn't have any trouble opening it. I just can't get it in the chat. All right, so for now, click the link that Dakota put there. And Dakota, you want to get into your group? Stony, others.
I had the best group. Those ladies,
What was that?
those ladies, they did great with this. They were knocking them out quick.
That's
well,
good.
I appreciate it. Thank you. You help too.
Right.
We apparently have some morning people in our group.
Yes.
Well, as long as I have my coffee, I'm good. I'm cooking with Crisco here.
There you go.
This is our firing. That's good.
Yeah, water really doesn't get me going like coffee. So,
I know. Since I had to switch to decaf, I'm like, yeah, I don't get the same kick anymore. Great.
Fun.
How did everyone do? And who finished?
We did.
Good deal. Way to go. It's a nice way to get the synapses firing a little bit, push yourself, and also get to know people at a group level, like kind of right away. I like this because you could do it with kids as something to do at the beginning of a lesson, right? Before they get into their groups. Just for them to recall some of the materials that they were working on, or it's a nice way to cap too in their discussions. So let's move forward because we're going to get into some group work here. And you have some options for you. Most of you, I think, will want to do and participate in the hot seat because then you're able to see the work that other people are doing. But let's say you weren't ready for a hot seat and you really want to get some work done because you didn't make it very far. So you could go off and do work. You could leave the session. I'm going to have office hours tomorrow where you can sign up and we'll have some one-on-one time. So you can do that. So that's the first option. The second one is the hot seat. And the hot seat has a protocol. Maybe some of you have been familiar with it, but let me just go over it real quickly so you don't waste time reading over all the materials. You just get a heads up on that. So you're going to assign some roles first. There's a facilitator, there's a timer, and then there's the thought partners that you have. And the facilitator and the timer are also your thought partners, so they have a dual role. So the timer, of course, is just watching time, just make sure you're not going on and on. And in the presentation, so the presenter, you choose the presenter who's going to show their work from choice A, B, or C. And they present for a short period of time. Then they take a very short period of clarifying questions. You know, these aren't leading questions about how they did things, but just clarifying what they've said. And then next, after they're done presenting, the folks that have been thought partners will then put their information in one of 4 quadrants. So you're taking notes while the presenter is working. You have likes, questions, wonders, and ideas. And you'll just, because these are in slide deck, you're all working in that. And Dakota will put up, you want to put up the different groupings, Dakota, in the chat. You'll find your grouping based on your chat. Actually, is that reversed? I'm wondering if we're being able to do that because they don't know their rooms ahead of time, Dakota. So what I would do is everyone copy the group chat links, and then you can put them in your chat room when you enter it so you know where to go and where to record your information. That was a little hiccup there. So just make sure that you copy those group links and then go to the one that you're in once you're in your chat room. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm seeing nods of agreement. Okay, so they take a bit of time. They add their comments to it. So you'll press on the T at the top for your work to put it into whatever quadrant that's in. And then you have a short period of time to do that. During this time then, the presenter just is quiet and then the folks start talking about what they saw and the ideas and things that they posted inside those quadrants. And then the presenter doesn't respond. I know sometimes you have to like put tape on your mouth not to respond. And then they come back and they reflect on what they heard based on the comments that everyone was saying. Okay, so that's the basic structure. And then finally, if you're just really confused about things, stay here in this room, or if you're popped into a room, leave the room and come back if you're super confused. And we'll chat about it. I didn't have anyone in my last session that was super confused, which was good. They all stayed in their rooms, but know that I'm here to help if you need some help. All right? So copy your links because you're going to be sent to a group. And again, you're going to have to figure out your roles and get ready to present and be thought partners. I should also mention, that if your group you didn't have a chance to present, you really want one, there'll be opportunities on Wednesday at that session to do a similar thing and share your videos as well. Okay, everyone ready?
In Dakota, before you send everybody to groups, there is a way they can raise their hand and ask for help if they have trouble sharing their screen or need anything, right? Okay.
Okay. And so is everyone clear? Are we good? Yes. All right. Separate them all, Dakota. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Jennifer, Tamara. Nice to see you.
Hi.
How are things go in your group?
Very well.
Good.
Did some sharing? That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. Do you have any questions while we wait for the others to join us in a minute?
We couldn't get our slide to work, so we just, talked.
Oh, you can get your slides to work?
We couldn't type on the slide.
Oh.
Well,
Oh.
I added the text box, but I couldn't see what Carrie was typing, and she couldn't see what I was typing.
Oh, that's bizarre. I'm gonna have to take a look at that again.
But we didn't see what anyone typed.
Yeah, well, you have different sheets that you're working on.
Oh, okay.
It could be that you opened the wrong sheets and you were in somebody else's group typing, which would have been.
Paul, I made it
Who
easier.
is this person in our group?
Hey, Tamara.
Hey, Liz.
I
Our
didn't even
group-
recognize you.
I didn't
Here
either.
I am.
Oh, wait,
Paul,
are
we didn't follow directions. We didn't fill out our sheet, but we had great
Oh, yeah.
We had
Forgot.
a great group.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. Was it that the sheet was too difficult to work in?
Oh, no, not at all. It was just we were talking too much.
Okay.
Conversation was too good.
I
That's
don't
right.
mind that.
That's right, Robert.
Okay. Is everyone back now? Dakota, can you tell?
We have 19. I think we had 21 total.
They might have bailed, so gone off to other meetings and such.
Yeah, I think everybody's back in the main room.
Okay. So how was that? Just a quick response. Good? Okay. Good conversations. Okay. I want you now to, I know this is very low tech, but there's a thing called papers and pencils. And I want you just to do a quick write. And if you wanted to and didn't have it available, you can write it in the chat too. But I want you to reflect about the things that you experienced, maybe some change in your thoughts about flipped classrooms and how they operate based on your conversations with other people. So just do a quick write, and then we're going to do a popcorn to get your closing comments, and then we'll close out the session. Okay? So let's take 3 minutes. You'll be back. I'll call you back at, you're not going anywhere, by the way. I'm not beaming you somewhere. We'll come back at about 8:24. Okay? So do some writing and we'll come back.
It's actually 10:24.
Oh, sorry. Right. Okay, conclude your statements. And since there's so few of us, we could just do a quick round robin too. I'd like to hear your voices a little bit so I can see who you are. Okay, anyone who would like to share?
I'll share.
Okay,
I
okay,
think
Jennifer.
I think through this experience, I'll be better able to relate to my students who struggle with content and who are just uncomfortable with instruction, because I'll just be honest, I'm really pretty basic in my knowledge. But I think, you know, my big takeaway was, you know, being able to, there was the video or the article about being a curator rather than a dumper of information. So that was a big thing for me that I thought was important, because I believe I've been in the past probably definitely been a dumper at times. And so I really took something from that. And then also, you know, for me, because I am so basic with this whole thing, just developing a meaningful playlist and being able to put together, you know, to put that together to utilize. I won't be in a traditional classroom setting because I'm a media specialist, but with, you know, helping other people acquire information to put together their playlists. And also, we're going to be doing a strategies class this year. So every certified person on our campus will be teaching a strategies class, and I'll be able to utilize that with those students in my strategies class.
Excellent. That's great stuff. Thank you, Jennifer. It's so easy to be a dumper, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I'm
All right.
guilty.
Yeah. Who else would like to share?
I'll share. One thing that we talked about was being intentional. Make sure that when you're assigning things, whether you're pulling videos or just having feedback as far as assessments, having the students respond, to be intentional in what you're doing and be explicit, and less is more. Sometimes, like she was just saying, putting too much on the students can be just as frustrating as putting too much on the parents, you know. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely have to loop them in nowadays with all this. Who else?
I'll add to that. Not putting too much on the student or the parent also goes back to what you were talking about at the very beginning about making sure you take care of yourself, but also taking care of our students so that they aren't overwhelmed, because this is new for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When frustration hits, it's what? Flight, or freeze, right? And we've seen all of the above as teachers, I'm sure. Okay. Who else?
As I'll go, I've read that the flipped classroom offers opportunities for the struggling students to have time to really digest that content. But the teacher has to be sure to spend time going back to ensure that that they've cleared up any confusion, because otherwise it will just be the same old
Yeah.
as traditional teaching.
Right. The assessment angle becomes even more important, doesn't it? That formative assessment type of thing, and more rapid cycles. Yeah. Great, Tamara. Love that. Who else?
This is Sharon. I'm not as afraid to do the flipped classroom as I was at the beginning of this class. I've learned a lot, even listening to some of the videos. The one that the social studies teacher, I think, you know, once the kids get me off on a tangent, we just discuss, and then everything is for homework. But now, you know, I can flip it where it is, you know, I'm presenting for 5 minutes, because what I'm going to do is make 5-minute videos, talk only that 5 minutes, and then say, okay, I'm here for you, but so that kind of restricts me, which will be a good thing.
Yeah. No, it makes you way more concise. Right. And you're spot on with that 5 minutes that you'll see in the next round that we're talking about what makes a great video. So yeah, freeing up that time to do some more group work and understand where the kids are at. You know, that 5 minutes probably in your regular classroom would take 15. Just get going. So yeah, spot on. You're going to get some more time to work with the students, figure out where they're at. Other thoughts? time for one more.
I'll share. I thought, as I've been listening to all this, that the amount of time for planning is going to be really, really vital to success. And so I'm concerned that we might think that because there aren't children in the building that we can do a lot of other things and not protect that planning time. And so I feel like that's one of the takeaways for me, is that the planning time absolutely still needs to be protected, and the PLCs and the collaboration time for teachers to talk with one another about what they're doing in this is going to be really important to us having successful flipped classrooms.
Yes, time is really important. But what you'll find is when you get into your rhythm, that it'll go pretty quickly. It's as soon as you clue into that arc and how that works and start mining those resources, you'll find out how quickly it goes. Angela, what is your topic area? What subject do you teach?
I work with social studies teachers and librarians.
Yeah, you'll find that you can ride a lot on your playlist that you develop. There's so much great stuff in social studies out there from various folks on YouTube. But then also, once you get in the rhythm and making the videos yourself, or your teachers do, that goes really quickly. At first, it's like, oh, wow, this takes forever. But once you learn the technology, and if you go simple with it and don't get complex, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So anybody else have some closing comments they'd like to share with the group? Give it just a little bit more time.
Paul, I would just like to thank everyone. I said this to our group. We had a great group, and I really enjoyed learning from them. They did so much awesome work. It was so impressive. And I just want to thank everybody for taking on this challenge, especially right now when we're so busy with getting school back open. But I'm so impressed that you've taken on this learning and the amount of effort that you've put into it, and it's just been great to see. And I know, Paul, you're going to have office hours tomorrow and then a follow-up Zoom Wednesday, and so I think Dakota, he'll be sending out some more information, giving Paul a link for that if you'll just give him any logistic stuff. And I just thank you all for being with us this morning.
Yeah, and the other thing, great for hanging in there. I know it's a lot, and you dive in and you're like, wow, this is taking a little bit more time to do than I thought, but it will be okay. And I will send out a link to the, when I'm available tomorrow, just sign up and I'll see the time. And then if you send me a calendar link or an invitation, just send me the email via the classroom, or even if you want my regular one, that's fine too. I'll send it in the email with that. We'll set up a Zoom link or something like that. I noticed that in some districts, I can't actually send a calendar meeting invite to you because there's a firewall. So if we run into that situation, you're gonna have to send something to me for a Zoom link or a Google Meet, okay? The other thing that I wanna say is that once you get into the video making, and don't stress about that. Like I talk about that a lot, just don't stress. I can add some extra support, and probably at the end of tomorrow, or excuse me, Wednesday, at the end of that week's or that session, I'll give you some guidance with technology. Like if you really like Prezi, for example, or if you want to learn how to use your calendar, or you have things like that, just let me know. And I can add some time afterwards, and people can join us to get up to speed on technology, because I know that can be a barrier. And the technology can work in your favor. Like setting up a regular meeting on your calendar can be really helpful, especially if you're working with the cadence of the arc and working with parents. Okay, so I see some stuff here in the chat. What might be also good, because I think there's probably a need for cross subject area or subject areas to maybe talk and share resources. We'll figure out a way so you can identify yourself, and then you can start sharing. Because as someone mentioned, I think it was Angela, there is so much time that's available to you. The more you can collaborate, the better you are, better off you are in sharing your playlists, and that's part of this too. All right. All righty. So I will let you go and have a great day. Maybe see you in an office hour tomorrow, or for sure at Wednesday's session if you're signed up for that. Alrighty? All right, everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
all. Have a great day.